right, y'all. What's going on? What's going on? This Greg. Greg said, I'm gonna cut a little light on today and see that. See if I want to do a little like that. Give me a little light. It's kind of it's kind of dull outside here. Weather's going up and down. We're in hot Atlanta. It get hot, it get cold. The pollen is starting to fall. It's interesting. I cut a little grass yesterday, and that's draining. The sneezes and stuff is in. I tell you, I don't know. Anybody got a little allergies and stuff like that? This time of year is not. You got to be on top of your stuff, boy, because this stuff go to drain. You get sinus infections and all that weird mess going on. So I nose kind of itchy and all that. I've been ready to get over this mess. Just may get a few sneezes because I feel them coming on. Anywho, we got the chat open, subscribers only chat. I don't know. You watching, you should be subscribing, you should be liking. You here, right? If you here, yeah, a lot of people. I hear that a lot. It's strange how so many people said like 60% of the people who watch their stuff, not even subscribers. God forbid people who come and be watching multiple videos and not subscribe. Shut this mic on. But yeah, this allergy thing is tough, man. You try to take vitamins and make sure mineral deficiencies and all of that. What caused it. Uh, some people that have it and others don't, but you know, yeah, for whatever reason. I be trying, if you look at what I do on Facebook and stuff, I talk more about like health. I do have like football pages, I have a couple Colorado pages or whatever. If y'all haven't checked that out, but on my regular page, man, all I do is post like natural remedies and stuff like that. Like that would be what say, Greg, he talk about all this other stuff, outside because I have other interests. I play football, but it's not like, I don't have other interests. I'm not just like a whoa football guy. I have other interests. That's a problem. What's going on? PC 40 Don, what's going on? So one thing I like to talk about is like not just to be talking like herbs and healthy stuff, but people into that. I don't know who into that. You know, I'm very into like herbs and wellness and stuff like that. Not just lifting weights, but like wellness, like what to eat, what not to eat, what kind of crap they put in our food out here that's messing people up, detoxing. Like I told you, I went to a natural, I guess you call it naturopathy type doctor, holistic type doctor, not a doctor, but a doctor type thing. And he gave me a bunch of like vitamins. He checked your blood. You can see the parasites in your blood. You can see all the mineral deficiencies of your body breaking stuff down. So I hope stuff like that will help with allergies because I know that's a big part of it. But overall, I try to do the stuff like that. I'm into that kind of stuff. I don't know who else into that. Somebody said yuck, yuck. Oh, he's about the parasites and stuff. You can like literally he can do your he can do like a sample one's considered wet, one can see dry. The dry sample, you can literally see them little worms trying to go out, and on the wet sample, you can see them actually swimming around. You literally can see parasites. But I've also been learning recently that parasites not necessarily bad. They may exemplify some bad because parasites ain't gonna be there. They ain't got nothing to eat. That's what a parasite do. So, well, one thing I noticed in my last one is I had a lot of unbroken down stuff, which crap breakdown to bacteria, and you gotta have good bacteria, but that's bad bacteria because the good bacteria supposed to eat the bad bacteria, and then you have all that stuff going on, and it just be mutate. What you call it? Uh, just breaking down not properly, and then you get fungus and bacteria and all that stuff in your blood. So that's when the parasites be eating. You know, that's not gross. That's part of what is happening. That's what's going on inside your body. So y'all think you have good and bad, and their job is to clean that mess up. But boy, they can cause some problems because they start eating up the good stuff and the bad stuff. So you start getting out of in a bad situation, man. That's how you get sick. They start eating your minerals up. They don't just eat the bad, they eat the good. They have bowel movements. Ooh, don't run high. Alan, what's going on? I think that's probably some of the allergies come from. Honestly, you got to clean that mess up. Your body be responding to it. Anywho, we don't have our first week of what Colorado. I consider like halftime. I consider like the first half of college break. Because they going on spring break. They're gonna come back for about a couple more weeks, and I think right in April they're gonna go ahead and have that spring game. So after this week, they're gonna come back. They're pretty much halfway, probably live right at it. So we're looking at our first glimpse of what this team looks like. I'm gonna look for a little interaction here and just get y'all feedback. It's kind of like a preview of like, well, week one, week two. It's been only 2 weeks. It's been on two. I feel like it's been on two. I would think it'd be three. But how many weeks is it total that they have? I would hope they have what 5, 6 weeks. You know, I don't know. Either way, that break always cut into it, like right in the beginning. Like they just getting going, and that break come because they go on the little spring break for college, and then they'll run it all the way through April. So I guess they got at least about three, probably four, but at least 3 more weeks left. At least 3 more weeks left. So where we are now, I already see people in chat say, what's your way?" Early record prediction. My record prediction haven't changed. You know, because what I see out there is what I expected. What I see is a team that brought in a lot of good pieces. If you pay attention to that, you see that team has a lot of good pieces that have a lot of good production, and they're gonna do their thing. And how well they play together, that's one thing, but they're just not gonna be a team you're gonna run over because of the type of athletes they have on both sides of the ball. So, for example, like I know it's a bit debate the quarterback, because we know how bad that situation was. We didn't really have that issue since Coach Prime been there because Shador was there. But last year was the first year you have to figure it out. And you had that situation that just turned people off. So this year it's kind of like turning out to be similar in a way because you got Juju still there, and people gonna say, is he the guy? Is he ready? Because technically, you really look at it, sweet wine come through here. This is freshman year. Technically, him and Juju's in the same class. If Juju had stayed, he would have been coming in like sweet wine. He left in his halfway through his junior year. Think about that. He was in his junior year and he didn't even go back the second semester of his junior year. So his whole first year was technically half his junior year and half in the first semester of his senior year. So this whole fall, he would have been in his senior year of football. A lot of people don't, and that's not an excuse, but that just counts for his age. So some people say, "Oh, he's not ready yet." Maybe, maybe not. But you can't deny his talent. Can't deny his talent. So yeah, you want to let him develop. Great, great, because it's a lot to learn. Just like Shador had to go and learn the NFL. Every level is different. The athletes are smarter, faster, just as talented as you, especially playing at the highest level. But I think ultimately, if you are a 5 star, people typically expect a 5 star. That's a future NFL guy. Typically, regardless of how well they perform in the NFL, they typically are a guy who's going to the NFL. That's what you see with a 5 star. So you can't treat him like a bust because it's rare that you see a 5 star, especially the quarterback position. Now, it's rare that you see that guy as a bust. Now we got a 5 star. Young, he was a 4 or 5 star. He was top cornerback in his running back in his class, and because he went to a Alabama, you can't omit the fact that he was that guy. I mean, and he's a 5 star. And like I said, typical 5 stars going to NFL. Now he wasn't getting the opportunity. He got hurt out here. He got hurt pretty much back to back. And that threw off his momentum. Hopefully he stay healthy here. But when you look at the fact that I remember Kamari that played for the Saints. I remember he was at Alabama and he left, and I think he ended up at Tennessee. I remember seeing that boy in high school at Norcross. I remember him being like this guy. He had another running back that was good, and they had a really good defensive end. I think the defensive end came back another year. And he was a really big guy. I would hope he would be in the pros by now because he was extremely dominant. I would hope he didn't fall off that bad in college. And sometimes you don't really follow these guys. You forget. You be watching these guys. You be like, how you see this guy in high school? And that's how I was with Kamara. I used to be looking for him because I know he went to Alabama, but Alabama didn't play him. So I was like, man, what? Said all of a sudden he was in the NFL. I'm like, there you go. Where he come from? Oh, he went to Tennessee. He was on the bench. He didn't even get the PT that Young got, but he went to his next school and just showed out. I really hope that Young will be the type of guy that show out. He got it. He just got to not be in his head, but he got it. He got the size. He got the speed. He got all of that. He got the system that he can go and get him 800 to 1,000 yards easy in this system and be a premium back if he stay healthy. And reason why he can be really vicious And just kind of looking at this summary, I look at these go-go sets, and I know Marion Smart because I wonder was he gonna pair these guys. When you put Henderson right next to Young in the backfield, side by side, almost like they ain't even got no split. Like back in the day, you put the shoulder, they put your hand out when you was a kid. They almost stand on top of each other. One standing up, one down. It just looked very like what is going on. And then one go here, one go there, or one go there, one go there. Boy, those are some two. They both show themselves to be very powerful running backs. I mean, both of them in the backfield at the same time is a treat, especially in this unorthodox type of offense. It's unreal to see that. Like you might see them in a split formation, or I formation. Even those are very powerful formation, power running, power I. But you doing a power L. Like they running the L. That's like an L, like quarterback here, and both of them standing that side, or both of them standing that side. That is a very interesting thing because it's almost like they're one person, but they're two. Because they're so close to each other. It's like linebackers can't line up right back next to each other to cover that, but they both outflank you on that side because they both on this side. Both of the linebackers can't come on this side. He can easily just go right back there. So how the linebackers choose to play that is going to be interesting. But I say that to say he can have a really good year because they can't key in on him. They got to watch both of those boys. Both of those boys can have a big year. And Henderson already proved that he can have a big year, even though it was at a different level, really a couple levels down. But he's shown that he can perfect this system and his size. And you can say, oh, he had a decent year because he went to a lower level school. But I mean, he has the power for build and he has an understanding of his offense. So when you put him and Young back there, then you can get real kinky and you say, okay, I'm gonna combine him with Jaquil. He pretty quick and explosive. Or you put Trackhawk back there, or you even got Welch back there because Welch can be subtly dangerous with those type of power type plays. He's not somebody that's gonna outrun you, off the edge or something like that. But if you can't key in on him, he can be dangerous too. See, most of the time we look at in the past these Colorado type of offenses that we've seen. It may be one running back in the backfield. We rarely seen two running backs. They started doing it every now and then last year. You're like, oh yeah, keep doing it, and they will stop. Go ain't gonna stop. Go typically you see every now and then they shotgun and there's one running back in the backfield. But Go usually have two back there, or at least a running back and a tight end line up like an H back. That's another thing that we noticed. Colorado is finally going to use the tight ends to make the behinds block, but also to throw the ball to them. These big old tight ends that everybody else have that they use. That's another element that we haven't really seen since the first year when I'm gonna say Henderson, not Henderson, but what's our guy name? First year, um, converted him from a receiver. He wasn't a big size tight end, but he was very effective for Shedeur. One of the most effective targets. I feel like Mikey Harrison. I feel like they should have kept him. He was a not scholarship player, but he was very, very, very effective. It's a Hakeem tore his MCL. Did you see Hakeem tore his MCL? Yeah, I think he might have been tore. That's the thing about depth. Like I know a lot of times we try to figure out who's gonna be the starter, who's gonna be that guy, and then when you look at it, you end up in a situation like last year. Trackhawk and Price went down. It forced Hayden to go in, even though he supposed to be kind of like slow walked in with his hand. He did decent, and he probably would have been very well with this too. I think him and Salter both were a year. It's a year away. They would have been. It would have did well in this system, how they run and what they can bring to the table, because this is truly gonna tap into the running skills of this offense versus everything else has been all about passing, and you didn't have the system for that. You didn't have the players for that in a lot of ways. But this system here, I think a lot of players that have gone, like even a Dylan Edwards, while he flopping around, Dylan Edwards would have been the track halt of this system. He would have. You see what he did that first game when you use him out the backfield and things like that. That's what we think people like a track hawk can do. That's what a Campbell can do out the backfield. That's what a Q6 do. Because you can line them up, motion them back, swing them around, jet sweep, run option with them. You can do all this weird stuff because there's a lot of movement, which we haven't seen. We really haven't seen a lot of movement. So now you're looking at, you got Henderson, you got um, Young, Welch, Track DT, this Jaquel guy, and I know you got the Cam Newton guy coming out of high school this summer. So I feel like this is probably the deepest room, especially with talent that Colorado's had. And I hope we learn a lesson from the standpoint of, okay, is it Cam Jordan? Why nobody say Cam Newton? I thought he had the same name as Cam Newton. You know, he had that big state, another running back named Cam Jordan. Cam Jordan. Coming in May. So Cam Jordan's already there. How many Cams we got? So somebody say Cam Newton's coming. He's a dog. Yeah, he's a young guy. He the one who did more yards in the playoff than people did the whole season, and he blew up. And that's probably how Colorado got him. So you're gonna have a Cam Jordan. So Cam Jordan must be that. What number is he? I saw a lot of I saw 26, 27, 28, and 29. I saw a little short dude. That's got to be Cam Jordan because that's not Jaquel. Jaquel like number 26 or something like that. All these I kept seeing these 20 numbers before Welch came back, and he looked pretty good too. Little short guy, he could shoot through that. So and where he come from? I can't remember. Bryce Hitz. Is Bryce Hitz running back? So we got 8, 9 running back. What was it? So is Cam Jordan there or he coming? It's a good running back coming in May. So you got Cam Jordan coming in May and Cam Newton coming in May. And we already got Cam Perry. Good thing you got rid of Cam McCred. So you got 2 Cams coming. I don't know much about Cam Jordan. I know about Cam Newton. See, that's what happened when you bring in about 60 guys at a time. It's hard to keep track. I know I don't lost track of a lot of guys. So guys that I remember seeing, and now they out there with these names. That name something I can't remember where he was. Some people you know Scudero, or you know Cam Perry, you know those guys. You even know Dante Moore. You know a lot of these guys because of just maybe when they came and the hype behind it. And some people came in at a time where people focus on these other guys, or they just came in with 3, 4 guys, boom, 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 and you really couldn't really pay attention to who these people are. Either way, they said they both out of Texas. That makes sense. That makes sense because I might even saw them and got them confused. Thought they were the same person because I do remember another one out of Texas. But sometimes you see these people, you talking about them and you don't really differentiate between, is this person coming to class of 26, this person 27, because sometimes they get into making offers to guys in the future class all the way out to 28. So maybe that's something that I kind of thought he was coming in a different class, because you see so many running backs already that came in, you really have cleared out your whole room outside of Welch. Every year you don't lost about 2, 3 running backs, but this time it cleared out the whole room, and it really wasn't the deepest room, and it almost got exposed because what if Hayden wasn't ready? Hayden was semi-ready, but what if he had one of those injuries where he was going to be out longer, like not just his hand, but it was a hamstring or a boot like the rest of them who stayed out? Then you would have only had Welch, and then you would have to depend totally on Welch and Draylon as running backs, and then you already threw Cam Michael back there, but these guys wasn't the running backs. They wasn't trained as running backs. They wasn't true running backs. So you really got to have at least 6 guys ready in that running back room because you just don't know. And not just 6 guys, but 6 guys who can play, because injuries do happen. They do happen, especially at CU, especially in the running back room, especially in the receiver room. Shoot, especially that well, because we don't see O-line get shuffled all around. We don't see definitely the D-line get shuffled all around. We don't see the DB room wreak havoc with everybody looking like Captain Hook out there. We seen linebacker room get exposed. We seen the linebacker room holding on by a thread in the 9-3 year when all we had was Hill Green. Bentley was acting like he had big toe syndrome, turf toe. He was barely out there. And, I think Trevor Woods decided the red shirt. And then you seen Jeremiah Brown decided the red shirt, and you seen all this stuff that all of a sudden you was out of linebackers, and then you mess around, made it to a bowl game, and Hill Green didn't even want to play. A lot of people don't factor that into why Colorado performed the way they did against BYU. He was your main guy anyway. You needed to stop that run, and now you replacing him with people who really not that. They really not that. So really, it's no area in this team that we haven't really seen depth become an issue. I think it became a bigger issue in the D line the last couple of years because of the fact that when they needed the D line that year, when they was about to make a run, that's when the D line we forget. Like we say, oh man, Kansas ran all over them. We forget how the line got depleted. We remember Block Bully was out. Block Bully didn't come back until really the BYU. He was out. And we had already lost a couple of the guys that we trained. You had these transfers come in, you be like, oh, this gonna be the guy. And then they don't even make it barely through the one preseason. And they be out and having surgeries. We don't have that happen every year with some big time guy who's the guy. Like I hate to have some guys we like, oh, they're gonna be the guy, and then they be hurt for the whole season and on that D line. And you never really get to experience these whether they're edge rusher or tackle. We have had it every year where they was big time and they were injured, and they did not just not get injured. They was injured enough to miss the whole season. Some of them even redshirted. So you got to have super duper depth. I even see that Coach Prime saying he looking at grabbing a couple more out of the portal, just sending the portal. So they still evaluate because that's gonna be a thing, man. It's been the thing, so you know to look out for it. But you can't go out like that. You can't go out to the point where you're almost ready to convert offensive players or be glad for your great Jersey people that can play both sides. And they ain't really been getting those reps. You have to throw them in because your reps, like when they had to put Cam Michael at running back, yeah, he talented. Yeah, he could have been in that position. But that man ain't practiced it all summer. And you so depleted. Yeah, he did his best, but it's not like he been training to be a running back. He could do it all. You seen him in high school. He could play quarterback if you need him to. He could play, and maybe like this, like more of a run style, throw a little bit. But he running around. He can play receiver. He can play running back. He can play cornerback. He can play safety. And sometimes that hurt people because then people kind of use. I think that's what hurt Hodge. Hodge was that utility guy that you can use, but you didn't really use him. But you used him when you need him. Like your only role is to be used when we need you. I think that's what hurt a lot of these guys. And these two-way guys. I don't necessarily see that happen with Boo Carter. But I think that ultimately, I think he's going to be a defensive guy. And they might throw him in every now and then, so he will contribute. But he don't have to be that guy on offense because they got too many receivers over there to be using. That he go in every now and then and do a little something, just a little wrinkle, a little tinkle, and then take him back out. So he's not going to be forced to be a utility guy. If that makes sense. Because when he's training that all year, yeah, he running routes and stuff like that, but he's training to be a nickel. And you got to also be thinking about, even with that, the depth at that nickel. I know they got some younger guys. You got to be thinking about depth at every position because these positions go down. Even going back to the quarterback. Yeah, Hodge was good. I do believe Hodge was good. And I don't think they fully used him. I think he was faster than people gave him credit for. He was more of a big play guy than people gave him credit for. But this quarterback room is another example of depth. I don't know what the NCAA would do with the situation, what happened with Dominic Ponder. Because even when you look at the scrimmage game, it's like they're supposed to have two quarterbacks on each team. And now they only have three. Now, if I'm not mistaken, I don't see a fourth quarterback in the reps. And I know they used to have another quarterback, but it's almost like NCAA should give them a chance. Well, I don't know what's going to be in the portal. It's really unfair to them. That's why you got to have depth. You don't know what's going to happen because now they're already at three quarterbacks. So imagine if one quarterback go down, now you only got two. And you know anything can happen any given day. A hamstring, a knee, a concussion. Now you out there playing with one quarterback because one one hurt, one out for the season, long. The other one got a concussion. You automatic. Y'all keep talking about, oh, Juju down on the depth chart. Who better? Who better? That's cute. If Isaac is better, he need to play. If Juju's better, he need to play for the better of the team. But I keep telling y'all, it's a scenario where all of them need to be ready to play. And I think all of them do something unique. I think even with Sweetwine, I think he's very good with running his size, his speed, and you know, it will be smart to create packages for all these quarterbacks, just like you do for a Blue Carter, because that's really all it is. I mean, it's a wrinkle. I've always felt like Colorado struggled with that. When they had Taylor, when they had Wade, these big, and we doing tush pushes with Shador, want to barely get in there, and the line was weak. Man, put that big old hungry. We had all these big quarterbacks. We even had Ponder. We had these big quarterbacks, man. They can lay down and get a yard, and they bigger and stronger. These boys, 250, 6'4", 6'5". Taylor's even bigger than that. Why in the world we doing short yardage? You ain't putting them in. Even the pros put in Wildcats. Even the pros put in quarterback. Colorado seen it against, was it North Dakota? Other teams is doing it against you. Why are you not using those bigger size? It's no rule to say Shador got to do everything. It's packages for everybody abilities that they can contribute. That's one thing Colorado hasn't done. I don't see Marion doing that. I don't see Marion being that kind of wasteful. So with that, I'm thinking whether who play good or not, I'm thinking you got to have a package or two in there when you throw Sweetwine. Even you just giving him some reps. Now you're also considering how you use him and if you want to be into this whole red shirt thing too. The Juju was sparingly used, and it's almost like if you play in the game that take your red shirt. I forget how they keep changing it. Like, is it how much you play? If you touch that game, that's considered a game because you only get like 4 games. And I don't think they got to the place where they automatically give everybody red shirts like I think they find to do. But I think that maybe you got to be strategic on how you use Sweetwine unless you have to. I don't. Do you even worry about a red shirt in this day and time? Because people will leave if they want to play. They'll go somewhere. So what good is your red shirt? Maybe they would want the red shirt. I don't know who decides that. I think it will be a combination of what that coach feel and the player feel. Because you worry about red shirt, a guy like you guaranteed to keep him. You go next year or the year after that. We seen Draylon Miller. We seen all these guys who was here. Even both of the Miller boys. Did he come the same year? I think Draylon's been out 2 years. Old Miller's been out 3 years. Both of them came as freshmen. What would a red shirt do for you? When they gonna leave anyway? Whether it's money, whether it's opportunity, whether it's they don't like what you're doing, what you preserving them for. So it can be selfish. You're not unless they want to preserve it. But most of these guys want to play. So this red shirt thing, they're gonna have to get a red shirts because people don't use them. They say I think they will bring a couple before the guys summer. Yeah, yeah, they're gonna probably have to bring them at summer at this point. You ain't gonna bring them in the middle of the spring. So they're gonna treat it like a summer portal. You got rid of it, but team's gonna evaluate, oh, we need to do this. You can't get rid of the guy, but you sure can bring some on once you see this is what the deficit is. Yeah. Looking at the film, they really see you looking better than last year. For sure. I mean, I didn't have to see no film of that. Do you think that all of those players, including season, colluded to all jump in the portal a series of dollars? I mean, to an extent, they communicate. They talking to an extent. How much it would, but yeah, at some point, yeah. But they're not going to the same school, so to the money ran and he turned his back and people, hey, he wanted the money. That's unfortunate. I'm afraid players have the ability to do that. He played in the faces. Bought him a car. Hey man. Like I say, these people don't really have no guarantee when you get these guys young. Coach Prime said it. And I'm not saying that. Look at Bayer. I'm not saying that even the older guy who got 2 years left, he's going to give you his 2 years. If he wants to bounce around the last 2 years, he'll do it. Whatever happened, it's when you're losing like that, it's a lot of negativity. It's a lot of stuff they get. mixed in together. I don't know what made him want to leave, and what caused the energy, but I know the energy was raggedy period because you losing and people not playing and bickering and all that. I know that could be a challenge, to say the least. That can be a challenging environment to want to be in because it ain't no reason to stay. Even if you play good, you look sorry. Even if you play like you on that sorry team, you ain't getting drafted off that team, which 3-9, because you can't be an impact player if you ain't making no impact. You know why I hate it for those offensive guys. I mean, you straight up at best you'd be lucky to get invited to somebody camp as a free agent, but your chances to be drafted. You look at Lejante and all that, Jimmy, them boys with the Shador slide. Yeah, them boys wouldn't have been drafted if they had a 3-9 record. They would have been fine for their life. They barely got drafted. Yeah, the Shador slide affected them, but they barely got drafted. Now, when you look at these teams, like look at Indiana this year, or you look at teams that make it further than they should, like Arizona a couple years ago, you notice how many of those guys from one team get invited to the combine. 7, 8 guys from one team to the combine. 7, 8 guys get drafted. I mean, we've seen with that 9-3 team, 9-4, everyone look at it. We seen 4, not even 4. Shador, Jimmy, yeah, 3, 5, 6 guys made that at the roster from that team. 4 of them got drafted. Really, you can say 7, include Travis. Travis made that the roster. Shador made it at the roster. Sim Craig ended up making it at the roster. BJ Green ended up making it at the roster. That's 4. Both Jimmy and LeJounte pretty much from jump made it at the roster. Then Will Sheppard came on late in the game and made it at the roster. That's what, about 8 guys? You're looking at these guys who made that at the roster. They didn't say, oh, I'm on the team, I'm on the practice squad. They made at the roster during that season. They came off a 9-3 team. You don't get those type of shots when you're 3-9. See, Will Sheppard and I believe BJ they had the free agent they way in. I don't think BJ got drafted. If I'm not mistaken. Yeah, you got I know Bentley's in the Canadian League. What's my boy line? My lineman, don't touch 2. I know he's in the Canadian League. He was there. And then I know Block Bullet ended up getting in the Canadian League. Now, I don't know Charlo. He must have said, I ain't finna do that. I know if he wanted to go there, them teams already bidding to him. It's almost like Charlo said, if I ain't playing NFL, I ain't gonna play no Canadian stuff. I'm sorry. Y'all can play me like that. Y'all don't play me enough. I can at least make the practice squad. Make 2. So that is probably more than 3. Yeah, because Myers was there. I mean, Myers went. He was one of the first ones. And I think Bentley just made it. I know Block Bullet made it a couple months back and makes. So that's 4 guys in the Canadian right there. So you talking about 9 guys for really not 9, 12 guys from that one team playing some level of professional football. Benson was the one that came up. Yeah, but Mayers was acting like they. You remember we barely knew the difference in their face. They had the haircut. They was always together. Mayers was saying don't touch 2, just like Benson, and they even looked alike when they first came. It was like oh, I couldn't even differentiate them at some point. You know, you think Mata would make the NFL draft? Probably not. But he probably can. He probably be another guy who make a UFL or because I think Bentley made the UFL. I don't think he made Canadian. I think he made the UFL. But Mata can definitely make a UFL. He definitely can make a Canadian. He's a good kicker. We've seen how many kickers who can't make kicks. You keep talking about how far Mata can kick, but we've seen so many kickers blow games. Like they ole out there. How you keep missing all these basic kicks? They missing regular extra points. They missing. Mata is very thorough with that. Now you say, oh, he got to prove he can kick 40 plus. Most of the games that these people losing, They losing on regular basic kicks just off of pressure of the fact that you got to make this game to tie, make it to win. And Model has shown he can do that. But it's 35-yard kick, 30, team bust their butt to get down there in field goal range, and then you miss a 30-yard, 35-yard. It's not the 50-yard kickers that really make people lose. You have them, but they're not really the team. They're not really what makes the difference. It's them basic, should be automatic, routine kicks that people just not. Somebody said I'm praying for Cleveland to make free agency. We keep saying Cleveland, but I feel like the Broncos should get him. You got to look at the fact, because I know he always used to flirt with. I think the Broncos should get Shiloh because one day he'd be back in Denver with his family, whatever, with his dad, all them, he'll be closer. But your boy just went over there on the secondary. I hope he had a relationship with. That should have been part of the agreement. And when you go to these Broncos, just his old DC should put in a good word for him. I mean, how often do you get to say how many guys make a team because their old coach goes somewhere and say, "Hey, come on over here with me," whether it's at the college level or whether it's at the pro level? I mean, it should be your boy Livingston should put in a good word and get the boy a look. That's your old DC. That says a lot. Your old DC is the DB coach. He should be able to say, "Hey, your Shiloh workout. You got to." Jeremiah Brown will be a free agent. Jeremiah Brown, man, I don't know what position he's gonna play because he just figuring out. He looked like he's figuring out the linebacker position. That's the last thing you want to be doing in NFL. He looked lost as a linebacker. He's an eager guy. He has a want to, but I always say this: your linebacker should be your smartest guy on the field. He ain't just the green dot guy. He is the quarterback of defense. He's in the middle of it. He's controlling what goes on in front of him and behind him. He's filling in the gaps when people mess up between both. He has to be smart. I don't think Jeremiah Brown is a smart football player, especially at that position. I think he is a motivated guy. I think he's ambitious. I think he wants to be good, but I don't think he has enough experience at that. I know he was more of an edge at Jackson State, and he really was learning the position at Colorado. You can't go into the pros just learning. You ain't like a freak athlete where you can make up for it that way. One DC said the coach there. Yeah. Shiloh should definitely get a trial at Denver. It's just too many reasons why he should. If anybody give him a shot, I mean, that's his home field, man. I mean, he's played in that state. He's familiar with that elevation. His dad is 30, 40 minutes up the road. Your coach is the DC. Like all the connections is there. Cleveland ain't really there. It's just his brother there. And we day to day, we wonder if he gonna get treated right. We hope that. Cleveland ain't the place for him. I mean, it could be opportunity because the way they secondary be, they kind of depleted. They kind of depleted. I don't know if I know that the Broncos have a good secondary. Cleveland, I think Cleveland was kind of thin in their secondary. They're like when some players got hurt, this season just went down at the end. But that's what happened when you be on the field too much. I think that's what happened in Colorado defense. Why everybody like Captain Hook out there. Your offense so bad, they out there barely moving the ball. They barely keep the ball. They not scoring and putting pressure on the other team. Other team just running down your throat. And you stay out there on the field, you put an extra wear and tear on your body that you wouldn't be if your offense was worth any good. And that's the thing I like about the go-go. The go-go gonna put wear and tear on the other team. Because whether I score or not, whether I dominate or not, one thing for sure, if you really pay attention to this offense, they can get 3-4 yards when they need it. They ain't gotta hit the home run. They're gonna hit the home run because you really gotta stay sharp. You can't never let your guard down because that's when a big player busts. So you'll stop them, then stop, boom, boom, because it is kind of pry at you. But when you look at what they do to a defense, well, you talking about the fifth quarter, and what they do for your defense, Your defense get to get a breath over there. Your defense get some Gatorade, get some water. You know, they ain't gonna they get rewarded when they get a turnover. They stop the other team on fourth down, stop them at third down. They get to actually go over there and review some film and look at the tablets and get a breather, warm up or whatever going on that they need. Actually, instead of go over there, defense come right back. They don't fumble. They don't throw interception. They don't. It went 3 and out in 1 minute, and the defense like, no, my legs still shaking. I still ain't caught my breath. It's my elevation. Elevation ain't helping me. I'm on the field nonstop. So you never get a chance to put the pressure on the other team because the elevation working against you. You work against your own self. That's the difference between what we seeing. When we looking at what these other teams definitely add depth to great secondary. Maybe one special team, but yeah, you can do that. So we already talked about the quarterback room. We really talked about the running back room. Like I said about some of these guys, I don't know all the names. I forgot some of the names of that offensive line. I think it has depth. I mean, it was a lot of guys that, this guy. All these guys can be a right tackle. Some of these guys can be left tackle. And we got so many guys that can play guard with experience. I don't think that offensive line gonna have an issue. I think the biggest issue the offensive line could have is finding out the right combination of players, the symmetry, who play best together, and then making sure they stay healthy. And if somebody do go out, plug the right person in where it keep ticking. That's what I do believe, because I know the offensive line has a lot of experience on it, more experience than we had before, not just size. And I know they got a lot of size. I do believe that this is probably the biggest line that we've seen. I do believe that, I talk about the number 57, what they said, Le'Veon Bell. I don't know how he move or how he think, but that's a big old dude. Do you talk about Cleveland at all? We do. Well, I mean, is Cleveland not relevant right now? What do we talk about Cleveland when Cleveland is relevant? Cleveland is not even, they in off season. They haven't started. They're getting ready for the draft. They did a couple of moves. They talk about all the moves they're gonna make as far as free agency. They cleared up room on their roster, and they cleared up room far as some money, but it's not relevant. It's just speculative. So the Cleveland channels, of course, they talk about Cleveland because that's their team. We talk about Cleveland because of Shedeur. What can we talk about at this point? I mean, it's a lot of gossip. It's a lot of rumors. It's a lot of could be, should be, would be. And if that can keep up we can do that. If that's all we got to talk about, that's all they got to talk about. We actually have a new football team. We actually have a new football team that in Colorado that's present right now. They're in camp right now. And there's a whole lot of newness going on. And we've already acknowledged that Cleveland got one new offensive line. They need a whole new line. They got a new center, the all-pro center, yeah. But, I mean, how long do you talk about that? And what does that mean? It really don't even mean much because they really got rid of pretty much their whole line except one. And I remember during the preseason, they cut most of their line. And then as soon as they got to the season, all the linemen act like they were hurt once Shedeur got out there. All the line was hurt. As soon as he got out there, both his guards was hurt. His center got hurt. His left right tackle. The only one that didn't get hurt is the one who needed to get hurt. And that's that left tackle. Yeah, they're gonna have to replace that whole line. They're gonna have to replace their whole line. We already know that because they don't pretty much drop them. But they weren't doing it anyway. They were hurt. They weren't effective. So it was already a given on the fact that they're gonna replace their line. Just the same way as they're gonna want to get a couple receivers. It's just a question on are they gonna use the free agency to do it, or how many are gonna use free agency? Because you can't only do so much with draft picks. You only can do so much with true rookies. You don't want to build your team off no rookies. Like last year, you got away with it, but what did it do? Lack of experience, and it just you need so much. You need a whole line. What you had your tight ends, Fanning, he came and he did well. Shedeur did well. You had two new rookie quarterbacks. You had brought in a couple receivers who was rookies, and they all did well, but they couldn't carry the team. I even had a couple rookie guys on defense that contributed. So yeah, you built it on that, and then you got this year. So they got to keep building. I mean, but they need so much. What can you say? They need so much. They need receivers. They need maybe one more tight end. They need linemen. They probably need to start thinking about depth on their D line because they was really fortunate that they main people like Myles Garrett and stuff was healthy the whole year. You know, even though he had a hamstring or something toward the end, you know, you brought in some young linebackers. Your safeties had some depth there. Yeah, I guess you possibly can if you do bring in a cornerback, that would be nice. You bring in somebody like Pond or somebody like down here, they possibly get somebody that would be good for them. But they need to focus on what they need. And that's that line, the offensive line. Every year they talk about we need a quarterback, we need a quarterback, but you ain't got nobody to block. And then they had a bunch of like relief running backs. They probably need to bring in another running back. They brought in a couple of young running backs last year. One of them got hurt. You look at your little relief running backs behind you. They did decent, but I mean, nope, nothing big. Shador trying to be superhero as normal. So you got a lot going on with Cleveland, but that's not relevant. Cleveland is going to be relevant once we get to this draft. You know what they got, and then they get ready to go to camp. They go to rookie camp, and then people will be looking at that mini camp and all these camps, and then we're going to look at the quarterback battle. And I've already gave y'all the synopsis how this is going to go. This is Colorado time. Before this, it was Cleveland time. Colorado season was garbage. We was talking Cleveland. Cleveland was the thing. Nobody want to hear about no sorry. Colorado, they had quit. People quit on them. And then, they didn't make no bowl game, and that Cleveland was still playing. Then now, Cleveland's irrelevant. But Colorado kicked in because they had the well-off videos and working out and stuff like that. But then at the point when Colorado's done, they're going to be irrelevant. By the end of April, going into May, they're going to be pretty much off. School going to be out. And then June, they're going to pick back up. They're going to be irrelevant. But guess who's going to be relevant then? Cleveland gonna be relevant because that's when all this stuff gonna be started. Gonna be starting back up and the hype about their draft and the type of team they're gonna have and the camps. And then Colorado gonna slowly come back. You're gonna be watching well off in July, and then they're gonna come back for fall camp. And then at that point, we're gonna be juggling both. We're gonna be talking about what is Cleveland looking like and what is Colorado looking like. And Colorado gonna be getting ready for their season, and then Cleveland gonna overcome it then too because they got preseason. Colorado don't. Colorado mess around and don't have a first game till the first week of September. I don't know how they let that happen. The season is going back, so we'll be juggling the closer we get there. But I think the biggest thing right now, as we say, is anybody seeing any surprises before we close out? Any surprises in Colorado? Anybody is like, I didn't see that coming. I tell you, for me, I'm not surprised by much. I take things for face value. That's what a lot of people don't do. When you hear somebody as the top receiver in the country, and he should have got the award, but he got a teammate, but he was at the top of every category. You don't do that by mistake. You don't do it by luck. So when you see Scudero making the catches he making, been wide open, and then you hear about Cam Perry and what he did, just like when JoJo came. When you hear about people, I don't give you, that's a lower level. When you hear about people just being dominant like that, just dominant, that's what you expect from them. I expect it. I don't know what that would look like, but when I see it, I say, that's it. That's what I expect. I expect the Cam Perry to be the same type of product. It's the same position. No matter what level. It's not the trenches. It's about the same. I expect him to be as disrupted. I expect Scudero to be as disrupted. When Dante Moore get here, I expect him to add something to it. I knew that receiver room was going to be very rich for the type of talent they brought over here at one time. Because realistically, man, if you had either Scudero or Perry, that would have been very good for this team because there's only so many guys on the field. But when you bring them all over here, and then you bring Campbell, and then you bring Dante Moore, And I heard him trying to bring others, but I said that was overkill. If y'all remember, I said it's overkill. They really don't need all that. But now you're really solid because if somebody tweak a hamstring or something, but the show go on. You still got people like Caleb Mathers that you're looking over. Like you talking like Caleb Mathers is just some, coach's boy. Like, oh, he's just a walk on. Caleb Mathers been very productive since his first year. Very. So they got everything they need. They still got a Q for 6. They still got a Farrakhan. Those guys that was top tier guys in their high school class. They're still there. They're overly talented in the receiver room. I'm not shocked for nothing. But I could say I'm shocked, but I can't say because they're early people talking about Isaac Wilson. Isaac Wilson, to me, I'm gonna be real with y'all. He got really high highs and really low lows. When you look at it, he remind me of Stop going there, bomb. Oh, he the guy. And then you see what he did the next week at Houston. That's how Wilson is in a lot of ways. I'm not saying they're exactly alike, but they similar type players. So I'm thinking that we gotta preserve judgment on that. Like everybody, yo, Juju. Oh, one thing about Juju, he's pretty. When you think about Juju, his personality, his play, everything is right there. Wilson is saying like, ooh. You don't want him to do this at the wrong time or on the wrong game. Boom. Juju, boom. It may be like a steady climb, but and that ain't enough people because they want that. And that right there, cute. Like when Staub came in the other way, everybody was like, "Ooh, we got a quarterback." And then he went to Houston, and we was like, "Oh, shuck," back to throwing interceptions and stuff. Wilson, to me, when he hot. What's going on, Ron? When he up there, 3-4 touchdowns a game. Ooh, but he's not doing it every game. That's how I see him. I don't know him, but that's how I see him. I see him as a guy who I'm like, boy, he can do it, but I don't know. I really don't know. I don't see that with Juju. I see Juju as a slow climb. That's why you say come around the mountain when he comes. Because Juju is a slow, steady climb, but he going up. But it's slow, like the tortoise in the hair. Ozzy don't took off. Oh, he the man. He been burned, crash and burn 7 times. And then you look up, and he doing that. Juju just, and to the point, his highs ain't meeting what consistent Juju doing. Juju not emotional like that. He not. He just got to get his confidence. Same thing I said about Young. These are 5-star guys, man. Once they get back to who they really are, from where they come from, they finally adjust. Okay, I can be who I am. I'm gonna be who I am. Then that's when you get to the point where you get what you need out of them. Once Young get his confidence, it's gonna be trouble for somebody. And when you look at the fact that you got so many other guys around you, not only does it create competition, but I think it takes pressure off of you that you gotta be the person. And sometimes people perform better when they don't gotta be the person. Some people perform better when they do have to be the person. But when you got these young guys or these guys who still trying to recover mentally, they just need to be one of the guys. There's nothing wrong with Juju being one of the guys. It won't hurt this team to have like quarterback by committee. Play a couple quarterbacks at a time. I'm not saying evenly. I'm saying I've been on the team where 4 different quarterbacks play. He might play on 1 or 2 plays and just come in and go back out. But the main quarterback's still there. I've seen games where a whole bunch of them running backs play. They ain't playing nowhere near the even amounts, but they just go in and do something. I've seen people do that. They do something real nice. I don't see no problem with Sweetwine going there and giving Juju a breather. Wilson have a breather, and he go in there and run 3-4 plays and then come out. I don't, just to throw off the defense. You ain't got no film on them. You don't have no game plan on them. That's the advantage. You throw a guy in and like, oh, we've been watching the film. Who this guy? Oh, shucks. They panicking trying to figure that out. You throw them off their game, then you throw the other guy back in, and they got to reback adjust. You got to do stuff like that to throw them off. You got to throw these teams off, and you got to use your weapons. They shouldn't just be sending back. Oh, here that come. Oh, here that come. Like, are you serious? Your playbook too big. Your weaponry is too wide for people to just know everything you're gonna do. That's what's Colorado problem has been. It's almost like the teams were jumping the routes. They just felt like, oh, it go hitch left, hitch right, screen left, screen right, running back draw of the A gap. Like that, that's nothing. These teams know you're a 1, 2, 3 trick pony. That's nothing. That's not gonna be Colorado this year. Marion ain't gonna be playing the fool this year. He got full control. He trusted with control. It's his offense. He ain't running somebody else's offense. It's his offense, literally. It's not just his offensive room. He created the offense. Nobody can tell you how to run what you created. They got to give you at least that amount of respect. It's no generic offense that you redid. It's your offense. Who you think Coach Prime gonna try to take that? He can't take over something that he don't know. He can't do so much. That's my offense. So I think if anybody know how to make that thing tick, he do. That's the positive. That's a big difference. If I would say something that surprised me about the offense, I heard that, and common sense, but I heard Henderson as a former player. He said, "Man, it's hard to learn this playbook, but it's even harder because every week we adding stuff." I say, that's what I thought it should be. This is how you think about offense. It should adjust to the weaknesses of who you playing against. It should adjust to some stuff you see in film. You should be trying to take advantage of it because that's what they're doing to you. They see your weak linebackers. Oh, they ain't paying attention on the punt team. How many times they don't pull off fake punts because they know Colorado undisciplined? They don't watch the film. That's what you're supposed to do. You're supposed to say, "Oh, we can try this week because that boy that undisciplined. They don't really pay attention to this stuff. It's gonna be wide open." You gotta, but you might not try that the next week or the week before. So the fact that he's willing to do that, that's I won't say surprise, but surprise somebody finally doing it because we ain't seen it. And if they say they did it, we ain't seen it. And defensive wise, I would say for a coordinator who just coming in, and you talking about Coach Marv, he's supposed to be a linebacker coach. For him to come in and kind of revive like a cultural thing, his attitude, that's a big surprise. You don't know the guy. He just getting here, and he ended up being coordinator when he wasn't supposed to be coordinator. And then you look at the intensity of that defense. We ain't never seen it. Let's be real. That defense ain't never been intense like that. We had some intense players like Hill Green to come up and hit you, block bully, but it was that before they came. I'm talking about defense as a whole, with everybody playing like the hair on fire. That's a different type of experience for Colorado that we've seen. The DBs actually look competent. They actually look like they know what they're doing. They actually look like they have a grasp of not just the concept, but how to play the position, how to manipulate the position, how to throw off the quarterback, how to throw off the man you cover, how to disguise stuff. They know what they can do within the confinement. That's interesting. How they play the safety position, how they play in the slot, how they play in the corner. It look like a group of guys who know what they're doing and accompanying what they're doing. I can't say this thing gonna be perfect, but I think it's foolish to say that these boys gonna look like last year. This is a whole different team, not just literally, but literally. Their skill set exceeds last year, but player wise and coaching wise. If you're gonna sit up here and just call it wishful thinking, but say, "Oh, these guys only gonna win 3, 4 games," that's nonsense. It would be just as much nonsense as me saying, "Hey, they're gonna be undefeated." I can't say that, but I also can't say that with the talent and the coaching they have, that they only gonna win 3 games. Because even the garbage team last year gave away at least 2, 3 games, gave them away. They gave BYU away. They really gave Georgia Tech away. They was in the game with TCU before they let it go. They was in the game with Houston with a quarterback drama. It was in the game until they decided to just let go. They had a whole bunch of games where they literally the game was in their hands. It's just like they wanted to give away our state. They won that one, but they wanted to get it away. No, we don't want it. They played some tough games with a raggedy offensive system. They played some tough games with a defense that was fickle. They can be really stingy and then they can be really loose. And you didn't know when the loose was gonna hit. But you know offense, hurry up while they stop him. Hurry up while they stop him. Hurry up and take advantage of this turnover. Because eventually they're gonna let the floodgates open. And then that's when the team jump up on them by 14, 21 points. And it looked like a blowout. But they running strong with them all the way up to the fourth quarter. Then they just give up back-to-back touchdowns. Defense like, man, forget it. People stop dressing for games. It's a better team, man. That's not wishful thinking. That's like science. It's just like common sense. They're a better team, definitely than 3-9. That's a low bar to beat. 4 game. They definitely can win more than 4 games. If somebody say 8, I think that's the minimum. I think if they just want to have a decent season, we say we did decent 8 games win. That's 1 game less than their best season. I think once they get into 10 games plus, that's a successful year. And that'll be pretty much enough to put them in real close contention for the bowl game, because that means they only will be on lost a couple games. And let's assume they both conference games. It highly depends on who you lose to in their record. You don't want to lose no screw-up team that ain't nowhere near the race, but then you don't want to lose to a team that you're going to have to go head-to-head with. And if it's going to be between you and them going to playoff, it's going to be them, because head-to-head. So you got to be very considerate about losing games and who you're going to lose them to. So there's a lot of things to look out for. But I do think that time will tell. So we're looking forward to when they get back. They're going to take a week off. We'll look forward when they get back, and boom, we're going to be back at it. See if anything changes. Does it get better? Does it get worse? My goal is to see consistency in the climax, consistency in the intensity. And, you don't want to see no fall off on effort, no fall off on attitude, no fall off on positivity. And the coaches go to playing a lot and the players looking all. You don't want to do that. So that's what I'm looking for. But I think so far, I consider them a winning team. I'm confirmed in what I saw based off the type of players they coming in. And, we'll see. I appreciate y'all coming through. See the people chat. This is what the members only chat. So that the people, go ahead and subscribe. I think it's subscribe only, subscribers only chat. Make sure y'all subscribe, like, subscribe, get them lights up. You hear? I always see the number of the likes is like half, or the people there or whatever. Just go hit a like before you leave. Appreciate y'all coming through. Greg said it. Make sure y'all enjoy the rest of y'all Sunday. And I'll be talking to y'all soon. Y'all have a good one.